20-year-old Filipino tennis star Alex Eala has sent Melbourne Park crowds into an absolute frenzy.
Get close to court 6 yesterday. Alex Eala playing over there. This was a wild, wild scene, Mark.
That people were so nicely standing in line, but they would be there for at least an hour if they ever got to the match. So kudos to the fans.
She probably needed to be on a bigger show court. She's, I think, the most famous female from the Philippines, certainly one of the most famous people ever to come through.
What would it take for a 20-year-old to stroll into the most prestigious corridors of women's tennis and completely rewrite the rules? Not through controversy, not through drama, but simply by being herself. That is precisely what Alexandra Eala did. The numbers arrived quietly at first, and yet they hit harder than any headline could. The WTA didn't throw a parade. Instead, they paused, recalculated, and reportedly launched an internal review because someone had just upended every expectation the system had ever relied on.
26th Australian Open, where there were extraordinary scenes this morning as Filipino player Alexandra Eala was greeted by hundreds of Filipino fans during her practice session out the back of Melbourne Park. Eala is number 49 in the world, and she's really captivated the hearts and minds of the Filipino community here in Melbourne after she became the first Filipino player to win a Grand Slam match at the US Open in 2025. It's fair to say that most players would have found that scene a little confronting given the number of people who swarmed her for autographs and photos after her practice session, but she took it really well. She stopped to say hi to the fans, and then she...
Imagine a standard WTA commercial meeting. Spreadsheets flicker across the screen. Quarterly projections lie neatly on the table, and familiar names dominate the top of every merchandise chart. These are the athletes whose faces the organization has spent years and millions promoting. The one sponsors built entire campaigns around.
Just witnessed one of the most unbelievable upsets ever, genuinely ever. Alexandra Eala, this is genuinely ridiculous. Let me give you some context if you don't understand what literally just happened. Fast forward to today, the second seed is knocked out by Eala in straight sets. So why is this story so incredible? She's the first Filipino player to ever make the top 100 in the women's side. She's going to become the first Filipino player to ever make a semi-final of a WTA 1000 event. And she is the first Filipino player to beat a Grand Slam.
Then, almost unnoticed, someone pointed at the top of the column, a name nobody had forecasted. Alexandra Eala, not second, not third. She had claimed the #1 spot with a margin so wide that executives reportedly demanded the figures be verified twice before believing them.
I'd like to start with giving the credits to Alex. I mean, what the hell she played in the first set. Yeah, I mean, she was smashing the ball and she was cleaning the lines and all that, so wow, it's a next generation coming that she's gonna come up and she's gonna be really good in a couple of years. So first of all, big credit.
According to conventional tennis marketing logic, it was supposed to be impossible. A player outside the top 25 surpassing combined jersey sales of multiple Grand Slam champions. Unthinkable. Yet here it was happening quietly, routinely, and with a kind of effortless gravity that made it look like just another Tuesday in Eala's world.
Aside from all of the return winners that she has against her opponents and the way that she steps up into the court is the demographic that she's helping bring to tennis. I think it's so cool. When you go to her matches and you see the way that these stands are, there's not an empty seat. The passion behind the fans, they love this player. I mean, the energy, it's something I haven't seen on the women's side for a long time.
At this point, the question becomes unavoidable. Why would a professional sports organization pause to investigate a player for being too popular? The answer is uncomfortable because it doesn't sit neatly within traditional sports hierarchies. To understand it, you need the full picture of Alexandra. Not just highlight reels, not just a ranking, but the essence of what makes her resonate so profoundly. Wherever Alexandra steps, Abu Dhabi, Auckland, Dubai, Miami, the energy transforms. Venues once reserved for polite applause morph into arenas vibrating with collective excitement. Fans aren't just attending. They are there specifically for her. Grand Slam champion Coco Gauff, one of the most recognizable names in tennis, publicly apologized to the crowd for making them wait before a match against a public acknowledgement that the stadium had come to watch her. When was the last time professional tennis witnessed that kind of magnetic pull? Her breakout season in 2025 only cemented the phenomenon. Entering the Miami Open as a wild card, Alexandra was nobody's prediction. She demolished expectations, defeating the world's number 5 and number 2 players consecutively before reaching the semifinals. Nobody projected it. Nobody modeled it. She simply redefined the boundaries of possibility. Sky Sports presenter Gigi Salmon didn't call her a rising star. She called her the biggest star in women's tennis in present tense, not some distant future prediction. And then there's the merchandise, which turns this story from a feel-good underdog narrative into a cultural and commercial earthquake. Nike released a limited edition shirt featuring Alexandra's name, her nation's national flower, the Saga flower, over the All England Club grass courts, designed by Filipino artist Georgina Camus. Within 48 hours, it sold out across 4 continents.
There's a lot of emotions, definitely. Happiness has to be on the top of all of the whole list. Yeah, and I'm just trying. I'm still haven't had time to stop and think about it yet, but I'm super.
That alone is impressive, but it becomes extraordinary when you consider the scope. The Philippines alone has over 115 million passionate sports supporters. And when you add the global Filipino diaspora in the United States, Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, the phenomenon isn't just about numbers. It's about a deeply rooted cultural and emotional connection. Fans are buying jerseys at 3 a.m. to catch live streams, flying thousands of miles to watch her in person, and investing emotionally and financially in a player who embodies pride, talent, and humility. Nike immediately recognized her impact. When Alexandra visited their world headquarters in Oregon, her portrait was placed in the Ambassador Tunnel, a space reserved for legends, accompanied by a caption that read, "History in full bloom." This placement is earned. This placement is data. Comparisons to Emma Raducanu's commercial surge after the 2021 US Open began to circulate. Yet, Alexandra had not even won a Grand Slam, and she was already generating that level of influence. Local corporations quickly lined up. Globe Telecom, Bank of the Philippine Islands, Babolat, and other major brands recognized her as a once-in-a-generation talent. Vogue Philippines put her on the cover. The commercial world understood immediately what they were seeing, but the institutional apparatus lagged behind. And that lag, structural, deliberate, or otherwise, became the story.
Waiting to hear from you. You looked incredibly locked in throughout that match. You let the racket do the talking, and you managed your emotions so well. Just tell us your first thoughts after that win.
Oh, all the emotions are coming because the tension was so high, especially during that second set. So I'm really happy to have gotten through. She's a great opponent, obviously being top 10 and a former champion here.
Inside WTA boardrooms, the conversation reportedly didn't start with excitement. It started with discomfort. Some executives framed it as merchandising equity, debating whether Alexandra's commercial dominance, which overshadowed established stars, was a natural market force or an anomaly that needed correction. Put plainly, they questioned whether being too popular was a problem. Anyone outside that room would be astounded. The market wasn't broken. It was speaking clearly in a language the WTA's traditional playbook had never learned to read. Alexandra's appeal doesn't fit neatly into conventional marketing molds. It thrives on Southeast Asian fan culture, diaspora loyalty, and an extraordinary form of communal pride. Some executives wanted to manage or contain it, but once word of the internal review leaked, it became a global conversation. Screenshots, hashtags, and commentaries circulated rapidly. Former players and journalists began asking the questions everyone was thinking, but few dared to voice. If Alexandra were from Western Europe, would the same scrutiny exist? If her fan base centered in Paris or London instead of Manila, would her commercial achievements even be questioned? Even scheduling decisions like moving her to a night session at the Dubai Championships gained scrutiny when patterns were traced. Observers documented months of institutional responses that seemed misaligned with market reality. Media outlets ran features, social channels exploded, and Alexandra remained focused on her craft, training relentlessly for the next tournament while headlines debated her impact.
There were so many fans here who were just waiting to get in.
I think the organizers need to keep more in mind where the players are from and what the actual fan base is here, because there's massive Filipino audience here in Melbourne, in Australia. So keep that in mind next time you make the schedule.
Fact that everyone came out and really squeezed into that cozy court. I really appreciate it. I felt so loved even when I was 5-2 down in the third, still felt the love. So I'm really appreciative. And
yet through all the commercial chaos and institutional hand-wringing, her humility shines. In a Vogue Philippines interview, she spoke about emulating the best of Filipino values, emphasizing character as much as her athletic accomplishments. She navigates the oddity of fame at home with grace. Still visiting the same restaurants she frequented as a child while adapting to strangers requesting photos in her own neighborhood, she captures the rare duality of being both an unassuming young woman and one of the most commercially influential athletes in women's sports today. As she steps into the 2026 Miami Open, seeded 31st and ranked 29th globally, she returns to the very tournament that first announced her to the world. 12 months earlier, as an unseeded wild card, she defeated top 5 and top 2 opponents and reached the semifinals. Now, the expectations have transformed entirely. She is not just a player. She is a phenomenon. The first Filipino to break into the top 30. The first with multiple wins over top 10 players. The first to reach a tour-level final in the Open era. At some point, first ceases to be a milestone. It becomes a defining trait. The WTA's internal review of her jersey sales will fade into archives, quietly forgotten, while the fans continue to carry the story on their backs. Jerseys emblazoned with the saga flower appear everywhere from Manila to Miami, Dubai to Oakland. Alexandra hasn't just outsold a roster. She has expanded the entire universe of women's tennis viewership. She has brought new energy, new fans, and a level of cultural resonance the sport has never experienced before.